Never gets old. Never gets old.
That's so true. Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. Caleb, it's so good to see you again. It's so good to be on here with you again.
We miss you, man.
We miss having you here in the office for sure.
I know. Sorry, y'all. Bit of a drive, but I miss you all too. I'm glad we get to do our favorite topic, Q&A.
Our favorite topic because it is every topic. It is whatever people want us to talk about.
That's right. That's right.
And put the thing on. I'm not as used to having to be in control of all the things for the Q&A, but yes, we're doing Q&A. So anything you want to talk about regarding special needs, IHSS, special education, regional center, Medi-Cal, we'll do our best to answer anything people want to talk about. We actually had someone who was here right from the very start. Marie was on YouTube, said hello. Always appreciate your help with questions. So that's a thank you, both of us. We're glad to have you. We're glad to see people here. We're glad to help. Ooh.
We got a big one come through.
Hold on. First, hello and thank you for all you do. Thank you for being here. And then here is a question. Let's read it. And we're gonna need the continuation of this one, I think. Oh boy. I have a 27-year-old profoundly autistic son with high behavioral needs that has 24-hour protective supervision. However, whenever I ask Regional Center to help cover the rest of his hours, they give me pushback and say that Regional Center greatly rely on the natural supports. My son goes to a 6-hour day program and he has 100 hours of personal assistance. But I'm getting older and shouldn't be forced to be a natural support. I know that state law defined a natural support as an unpaid person. Can you just put the rest of that in there? All right, Teresa's going to add the rest of the question to this, but this is all going to be about regional center and them not covering the rest of the time. All right, here it is. So defines natural support as an unpaid person that voluntarily supports. However, I've been forced to be a natural support for too long. I'm getting older and need to start fading out, but still want my son to live with me so that I can keep an eye on him and his staff always. What can you advise me to say to SARC to be able to receive his 24-hour coverage? Oof.
So San Andreas Regional Center. Yeah, so I'm happy to jump into that a little bit, Dakota, if you like.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So one, what was the name? CC?
Mm-hmm.
Is that it? Sorry, I don't see the name anymore.
Yes.
CC. All right, CC, thanks for the question. If that's the name, sorry, I couldn't hear that it was confirmed or not. So with Regional Center, IHSS, and these different, Cecilia. Okay, perfect. Thanks for the question. So it is tricky. One, I'm sorry that you're going through that right now. It's definitely a more commonly brought up challenge than you would think. So to understand how the hours and support for care work together, you have to understand a little bit more about how Regional Center will allocate services for things like respite, personal assistance, and things like that. So if I'm understanding the question correctly, Dakota, please feel free to jump in. But if I'm understanding, Cecilia is saying that IHSS has given protective supervision. They have a specific amount of hours per week. And in order to get the rest of the time that this child has, or this adult child has, available to them, she is essentially fitting herself as the caregiver for those additional hours and not getting paid for it, right? So how can Regional Center kind of pick up, the remainder of this time that this person needs care? Am I understanding the question correctly, you think?
Essentially, it seems like, they've got, a lot of support so far, but it is not covering the full time. The Regional Center is saying, well, we're going to go by what they already have and the supports they already have in place. Yeah.
So, okay. So just making sure I read that or understood it all. So Cecilia, as far as, okay, and you said yes, perfect. So you have to understand what Regional Center will pay for and what they won't pay for, right? So they're not going to do anything IHSS related, right? But you can get the rest of the day filled if available, if the schedule allows for it. Okay. So similar services to IHSS would be respite and personal assistant and daycare or like adult day programs. Okay. And so if you have a child where they're receiving, let's just say 7 or 8 hours a day of IHSS, right? But you have 24 hours in a day, like you mentioned. How can we get 24 hours of care? Well, that it's going to be unlikely to get every single hour of every day covered. But if you include sleep when they're sleeping, protective supervision is kind of like an on-call service, if you will. So you technically are doing the protective supervision job in the night while this individual is sleeping, right? That's why it's a 24-hour need. But IHSS is not going to pay for 24 hours a day of service. So with regional center, they can offer things like respite, which will allow a caregiver to come into the home and provide care in home. Personal assistant would be in home and out of home, where they could take this person to the community, get them exercised, get them socialized, or focus on certain tasks, right? And then there's, of course, like adult day programs where they can go to a class, they can go to some type of event that happens on a weekly or biweekly basis or whatever it is, right? So in order to have these other things that regional center can do for this person to maximize their their day-to-day with somebody caring for this person, their schedule has to allow for it. So what we do see from time to time is where this person has, 7 or 8 hours a day of IHSS, but they also have maybe some therapy throughout the week, or they have certain like things that they have to do during their day on a daily basis, where there's only maybe an hour or two left in the day before they go to sleep that actually allows room for things like respite and personal care, personal assistance, and things like that. So if there is room during the week for those other things that regional center can provide as care, then that is what you can ask of regional center to provide time in. So again, it's not going to be services paid to you as the caregiver. That's what IHSS is for, right? But if they can offer more respite services or more personal assistance services, great. Let us know if you already have those in place. I don't think that was mentioned in the first comment. Was it, Dakota?
Personal assistance, yes. So okay. They have protective supervision, 6-hour day program, and 100 hours of personal assistance. So that's currently what was discussed. And so I can maybe add a little bit to this. Just my thoughts is that, so you got protective supervision, that's great. If you're a provider, you're getting that, and that covers a lot of things for you. And with the day program, personal assistant, all that is really good to have. You didn't mention respite. Respite, like Caleb mentioned, would be a good option. But again, respite is if you want to continue being the primary caregiver, right? Because respite is for you as the caregiver to rest. So if your issue is just that you need someone to cover the more time, you could look into respite and say, I'm doing IHSS 10 hours a day, covering all this time throughout the whole month. I need some time for myself. I need a break. And then ask for respite. But if your issue is that you don't want to be hands-on doing all the work continuously forever, then you may consider finding another provider to do some of the IHSS hours. Because if that's, if your concern is that you just can't do the work anymore, or that you don't want to, you want to prepare for the future, then it wouldn't be regional center you would go to. You should get someone to cover those 283 hours.
Is that what she has, 283?
Actually, I didn't hear that. She said protect supervision. He's 27. I would guess she's probably close.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, she said profoundly autistic, right? So probably a good high number then.
You said you're working on getting ILS.
So that's independent living services with regional center.
Okay. Gotcha. So, Caleb, was there anything else you wanted to add to that? That was just what I was thinking, is that respite's good if you do want to continue being the primary caregiver to try and fill out that time and give you a break. Otherwise, it might just be a question of maybe you need a second provider to share some of that burden. What I'll say as far as IHSS is concerned is that, yes, they approve you for 24-hour protective supervision, but they don't pay for 24 hours. Basically, what they say is, we pay for approximately 9 hours out of the day, and the rest of it, figure it out, right? They'll say between, school, if he has school stuff, or day programs, or whatever, regional center or therapies or whatever. And if all of that fails, then someone has to volunteer to watch him the rest of the time. So from IHSS's perspective, they're like, we're going to pay for this much, but he has to be watched 24/7. And if you can't figure out through other programs how to cover that 24 hours, you just have to figure it out and, do whatever won't be covered by anyone else. Like, that's at least from the IHSS perspective.
Right. And so with regional center coming into play to fill in those gaps, again, you have to be able to provide a schedule for a regional center to authorize any additional hours. Now, 100 hours of personal assistant that's a pretty good chunk of time, depending on how broad the period is, right? If it's 100 hours a month, that's pretty good. If it's 100 hours a quarter, every 3 months, 100 hours, that definitely brings it down quite a bit, right? But what's cool about personal assistance is there's no limit. So we've seen up to like 6 or 7, 8 hours a day of personal assistance, some rare cases. But so if you can lay out a schedule, that's step one. How many hours a day are we getting from IHSS? And that person is cared for from the time they wake up, waking hours. I'd say stick to waking hours. That will just be helpful. And then how much time is left over for things like respite and personal assistance. And if you see that there's room and there's gaps during the day where you are essentially having to go above and beyond the IHSS hours, then maybe there's some space there for regional center. But that's also going to include day programs, right? So hopefully we addressed the question, CC, and sorry if Dakota and I kind of went off a little bit. This stuff can get a little complicated, right? So we want to try and simplify it as best we can, but we really appreciate you being here.
All right, let's see. Stella said, happy Friday. Thank you for today's info. Always great to see you, Stella. Janine said, I've had the same pushback from TCRC for adult client. My son asked them to, in writing, tell you how they calculated the hours they provided, go to a hearing. They can't decide for you if you are available. Unfortunately, they will make attempts to make you do it for free and not fund the rest of the hours. Have to go to a hearing. I had the same pushback. Yeah. So, yeah. And when the child is an adult, like, you're right. You're not necessarily the person that has to do it, but they might, someone has to.
But they did mention that it would be good to write out hour to hour who's doing care and where the needs are.
Yeah, and I think that kind of goes back to what Caleb was saying, is that when we had Vinaya on, she was saying making a schedule and saying per hour who is doing what and why there is a need for more respite or personal assistance or whatever is very good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me see.
And I would argue, sorry, last point on that. I would argue it might be easier for an adult. It might be easier to argue that for an adult because there's no more obligation, right?
Right. Especially, parent can't do everything. You can't, don't have the energy for it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Hugo said, if I don't want to be in the union for IHSS, will I be looked at different or retaliation? No, I mean, realistically, because the social workers,
mm-hmm.
I think the social workers don't care at all whether or not you're in the union, and the other people, the other providers who are in the union, you'll never see these people again. You're never going to talk to them. So
I think it's a relatively small portion of IHSS clients that are actually in the union.
Yeah, so I would say don't worry about it for that reason. It's just
real quick on the union. So Dakota, jump in if you have thoughts on this.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if we get a lot of questions on it these days, but the union really is per individual, right? You might get, some people say they get kind of sold on the union initially, and some people never even hear about the union or get approached by anybody in regards to the union. So it really comes down to what you see value in. There are things that the union can provide support in, and there are things that they don't do. And so if you feel like that what they do offer in regards to services is something you want to pay into, great, you have that option, right? I think big picture, the union does a great thing in lobbying and putting out an effort to make some, like, positive changes to programs like IHSS. But ultimately, it is a choice. You don't have to be a part of it. And no, like Dakota mentioned, nobody is going to look at you differently.
Yeah. Okay, so he had a follow-up question about the union. Two actually. One was this: the union offers health benefits for $1. I find that really hard to believe. Is this true? I don't think I personally know enough about it to know for sure how legit that statement is, but
Yeah, so there is healthcare benefits as a provider, but there's caveats to it. I don't know all the caveats, but I do believe you have to be working above a certain amount of hours per week. And I don't know if the union technically has anything to do with it. I don't think you have to be a part of the union. So maybe that's the benefit. If you're paying into the union, maybe the healthcare changes to only $1. I haven't heard that. That's new for me.
The union is the ones that negotiate and administer healthcare.
all right. Mom says the union is ones that negotiate and what?
And help administer the healthcare benefits.
And help administer the healthcare
They're gonna give you
benefits.
the information of where you should go and stuff like that.
So it doesn't sound like you have to. I don't know. Maybe we'll come back to this in a bit.
I'll put up a link on so he can look up what their healthcare is.
All right. Teresa's going to post a link.
On a very serious note, Teresa needs a microphone. When are we making it happen, Dakota?
I could turn this one a little bit towards her. Okay. He followed up again and said, my wife was told they will come to our home. I sure hope not.
The union?
No, they won't.
I've never heard of that happening with the union. I mean, obviously the social workers come to your home to do the assessment, but no, I have never heard of the union, whether you're a member or not, coming to your home. I think that's
The union's only going to focus on what's going to benefit IHSS as a program, and the population of IHSS, not you individually. So there would be no need for them ever to come to your home. But like Dakota said, the social workers will, if that's what you're referring to. Feel free to let us know.
yeah. I mean, maybe you're hearing stories about the East Coast dock workers union back in the 70s. Maybe they'd come to your home, but I don't know about IHSS. I highly doubt that.
Yeah, there's a lot of people not.
Okay. Going back to the regional center topic, Janine had said, create a spreadsheet showing 24-hour schedule for the week to show the gaps. And put IHSS for mostly overnight hours. I mean, that's for protective supervision, you can technically do the overnight hours. That's true. And CC added that 100 hours a month, but he wakes up throughout the night to break into the pantry and stays up. All right. And then let's see. Neighbor on YouTube said, we have twins. Dad works full-time, not in the same home. Can mom claim max hours, then dad covers the rest for tax purposes?
The last part got me.
For tax purposes.
Okay, well, yeah, actually, now that you mention it, the tax purposes part is a little bit weird, because if you are actually, for two separate homes, can only the one where they spend more time be counted as a live-in provider? They both count as live-in providers. Caleb, do you recall that?
That is a great question. I don't. So I believe if it is biological parents and they have joint custody or shared custody, physical and legal, then both homes, I believe, are considered. I believe both parents would be considered in-home providers. However, technically, the rules are you can only claim the amount of hours that match up the same percentage as the custody. So
Okay.
if the children are with mom 80% of the time in mom's home, and then they're with dad 20% of the time, so maybe on the weekends, then dad is technically only entitled to 20% of the hours. Technically, you don't have to do it that way. We've seen people do it differently, but that's kind of, to my understanding, what has been explained to me over the years by social workers. That's just what they expect. But
given the context of the question, that may work out in your favor for what you're trying to do. If dad is working most of the time, if they're with mom most of the time, and you want mom to claim max hours, then
let's go back to taxes here. So yeah, if you're live-in providers, then it's tax exempt income, and it doesn't impact your taxes overall.
unless you want it to.
Correct. You can opt into paying taxes, but fair point.
Yeah. But yeah, so there's a few things.
So mom could claim
so you're saying they can claim the percentage of the time that they're spent, which may or may not get you to max hours depending on how many you have. But like we said, when it comes to tax purposes, IHSS is non-taxed income as long as you are a live-in provider. So there's a lot to go over there, and we probably don't have all of the information, or we may not be the best person to talk about for your specific situation of what's best. But yeah, I hope that's helpful. CC said, thank you. Appreciate it. Hugo said, thank you. Appreciate you being here as well. And happy to have the questions. And Teresa, this was the health post, the healthcare information. Oh, Janine said, a union rep did come to my home a few years ago for your information.
Oh my. How were they?
I mean, yeah, I guess we are kind of curious. Like, how was that? Was it like, were they like pressuring you to join, or were they just? Yeah,
I'm guessing maybe it's a union initiative. I know we don't necessarily like follow a lot of the union groups on Facebook or anything. I don't personally. I don't know if you do, Dakota or Teresa, but we have to remember the union's job is to do what's, I guess, in the best interest of the clients and the providers, right? I think primarily the providers. I think that's what the union is primarily focused on. And so I guess it's not shocking if they have an initiative now to start sending union workers out to homes. May not be to sell them on the union directly, but more of like, hey, this is what the union is doing. Do you want to be a part of this change? Which in turn is selling them into union dues, right? So
maybe.
And again, we're not trying to make it sound like it's a bad thing. Again, union is it's up to everybody. It's a choice. So Janine, please feel free to share a little bit more in detail what that home visit was like.
So we're getting a lot of union related comments and questions here. Estelle said, I almost joined the union 7 years ago and ultimately decided not to due to hubby's work, and they won't stop calling me. I also spoke about it in certain Facebook groups and it got me banned. Well,
oh boy.
You know,
I have heard that. I have heard that the union, if you share some interest, I have heard some people say that they felt like they got hounded a little bit.
Well, you know, I mean, I think that just happens with a lot of things. Like you give someone your phone number, your email address, and all of a sudden it's like, you know, you get telemarketers and stuff. They're calling you every week about stuff. Yes, you probably could request to be taken off of their call list if you want to go, you know, to that extent. I would certainly hope that they would follow the law in that regard. Okay, I think we got some questions here from Marie. Part one, perhaps. Medical question. My almost 7-year-old was approved for services through Alta Regional, but we are waiting to be seen at Mind Institute for an official diagnosis. Our family is all on Medi-Cal. If my income went up due to getting a job that could potentially put our eligibility at risk, what ensures that my daughter who receives services doesn't get denied Medi-Cal and lose services? Or do the services alone secure it? Or does she need that diagnosis? Okay.
Before answering that.
Oh, wait. Yeah?
Is there more?
Oh, no, I think that's it. That's it.
So before we answer, can we take a moment to appreciate Marie for putting those in parts? That was amazing.
That was very nice. I do appreciate it. So we, you know, make sure that we see the whole thing. So I think I can answer this one, or at least to say that you said your daughter's with Regional Center, right?
Yep.
You're approved for services through Alta Regional Center. So you're receiving services and you're with Regional Center. That means when it comes to Medi-Cal, you're pretty much good, no matter what happens. Even if, as you mentioned, you know, your income will change, your family income changes, you make too much money, you're no longer eligible. Even if you and your family are ineligible for Medi-Cal due to income, because your daughter is a client of the Regional Center and is getting services through Regional Center, she can get the institutional deeming waiver. If she gets denied for Medi-Cal, she can get the waiver to exclude your income from her eligibility to get Medi-Cal. So you do have to try and get Medi-Cal the normal way first, but if Medi-Cal denies you because of your income, or denies her because of your income, then Regional Center can do the institutional deeming waiver to allow her to get Medi-Cal regardless. And you mentioned you have services. That's one of the requirements is you have to have a service with Regional Center in order to get the waiver. So as long as you're getting services through Regional Center, then you can get the waiver if you end up needing it. Anything you want to add to that, Caleb?
I think you hit it on the head.
All right. Next. Oh, but yeah, great question. Thank you for that. I might say this wrong. Arsiga?
Let's say Vanessa.
Okay, Vanessa. Hi, I have a 19-year-old level 1 autism. I'm going to apply for IHSS services. My concern is him being taken to out-of-home care. He's able to bathe, walk, not drive, doesn't know how to cook, needs constant reminder to shower because he is forgetful. I also need to finish most of the tasks he doesn't finish. I don't know exactly what the question is.
My concern is him being taken out of home care.
To out-of-home care. Well, I mean, if what you mean is you're worried that they're going to remove him from the home, that's not something that IHSS is going to do, for one thing. I'll just put that out there. They're not going to take him out of your home because he needs help with bathing or not bathing, cooking or reminders to shower. That's what IHSS is for, is so he can stay in your home. So, yeah, I mean, IHSS is all about services done for him in the home. Now, if what you mean is he already receives care out of the home and you're worried that IHSS won't pay you for those services, that is true. Like if he's receiving services elsewhere from other people for other services, then yeah, IHSS won't pay for those things. But I mean, this sounds like a pretty straightforward case. You're not going to get like a ton of hours, but for the cooking, for the, a little bit for the showering and maybe some other like domestic or house related services, you can get IHSS time and it shouldn't be a problem.
I agree.
All right.
But feel free to elaborate, Vanessa, if you feel like you need to, or if we didn't understand.
Yeah, I'd be happy to elaborate more on that if you have a further question about that. All right, Janine explained about the unions coming to visit. Yes, they pretended like I wanted them to come and then tried to get me to join. That's very interesting.
They knock on the door and she's like, you do realize I'm banned from all your Facebook groups, right?
Okay, to be fair, we have kind of talked about before. I think with Connie, we've talked about this before, that yes, we have seen some kind of weird, underhanded, maybe a little bit worrying tactics from the unions in the past. We've seen sneakiness, or at least heard about it before, but we don't want to outright say that it's a bad thing because we can't. I think you said it before, where it's like every recipients or every provider is going to be different about whether or not it's the right thing for them. But we have seen them employ some tactics that maybe we don't approve of. For instance, I personally would not want them coming to my house and, pressuring me to try to join.
Well, in this case, they apparently were invited by somebody.
Yeah,
maybe not Janine, but somebody invited them to Janine's house.
Somebody did, yeah. All right. Marie said, sorry for multiple part questions. I can only put so many words in chat at one time and trying to be clear. No, we appreciate it. It's good to have it written out there just so we don't have to get Teresa to repost it.
Yes. I'd say for future reference, if people can start doing that, super helpful. If it's going to be really long, just put it in multiple parts, multiple comments. That way we can click through. I think that was super helpful for Marie. So thank you.
Yes, appreciate it. All right. Neighbor once again said, Dad visits mom 3 to 4 hours a day to help mom with children in same home after work and nighttime routine for clarification. Yeah, so we're just talking about the split custody and who gets most of the hours. With that arrangement, I think you'd be probably perfectly fine for mom to take the vast majority of the hours. Now, you mentioned tax purposes. If all of the work is being done in the mom's house, then I think only she would be tax exempt, and dad would be not tax exempt because he's not a live-in provider at that home.
I think that's what I'm leaning towards as well now at this point, after getting that further context.
So yeah, hopefully that helps. Yeah, you said thanks. It did help.
All
Glad
right.
to hear it.
We did it,
All
Dakota.
CC or Cecilia said on Disability Voices United last week's live video at minutes 49, Judy Mark went into this subject. She mentioned that state law definition of a quote natural support is people who are unpaid to be in a participant's life, who voluntarily agree to provide support. Nothing in Lanterman Act says that a person must, they cannot be forced. Now, I think just to go back to this, and you didn't mention that this was the case or not, but I will say, I think that if your child is conserved, that does change things. I think. Am I right about that? That when it comes to like a person who voluntarily cares for an adult versus someone who is obligated to take care of an adult, that would change if the adult is conserved, right?
100%.
So what you're saying about like now when regional center, when they say that they're relying on natural supports, I'm not sure if this is what they mean. But you mentioned this live stream, they talked about the definition of a natural support service. Maybe it is what they mean, but regional center is still limited in what services they do provide. They don't just provide 24-hour care all the time, right? That's not they are the payer of last resort. They have to ensure that you have exhausted all other options before they are going to do more, and they have to see that there is a need for more. So it's more complicated than just, he's an adult, he's on regional center, they have to cover absolutely everything. There's a bit more to it than that. Vanessa follow-up said he doesn't have regional services because he was diagnosed at age 17. I need the context of what we were talking about here. See, level 1 autism, you were going to apply for IHSS, and you're concerned with him being taken to out-of-home care.
So for clarity, if you're referring to regional centers out of home care or having anything to do with that, that's not necessarily what regional center is. But Vanessa, if you want to, how old did she say he is?
She said at 17 he was.
Okay, he was diagnosed at 17. I think he's currently
Correct.
19. Yeah, he's currently 19.
Okay, gotcha. So it might be beneficial for Vanessa to maybe chat with somebody one-on-one to get a little bit of a deeper dive maybe into what's going on, because they need regional center services. Great, you could still get it even with a late diagnosis. There's just a couple of extra things you have to sort of prove, right? If it's autism that's been diagnosed, then autism, it doesn't mean that he got autism at 17. It means that's when it was discovered. He's had it his whole life, and so regional center can still accept him at this age. And that's not going to impact his eligibility for IHSS. But again, I'm still kind of confused by the out of home part. So I think it'd be good to probably learn a little bit more.
But yeah, so like he said, you can, even if he's already an adult, he can go back and get regional center. But I think the part is you have to show or prove or something like that he had the diagnosis. The diagnosis. I don't recall if it's before he was 18 or some other age. I don't recall exactly what age it is, but yeah, that's the way it works. All right, Hugo, can CCS deny services if we show the regional institutional waiver? Without the waiver, we won't qualify, though.
What is CCS?
You mean DCS or no? That wouldn't be it.
Hugo, can you let us know what CCS is, or if you were referring to something different?
Maybe it's DDS. I don't know. We'll wait for clarification on that. Anna said, sorry. Is it true that they are actively trying to reduce PS hours, or are those just rumors? I mean,
welcome to our Facebook page, Anna.
I mean, to some extent, it's kind of always been that way, it seems. But I would say we haven't heard a ton of it in very recently, but maybe in the last few months, especially when the budget stuff happens, we always hear stories of people who have had protective supervision for 5 years, for 10 years, for 15 years. We're just like, social worker came in, maybe it was a brand new social worker, didn't listen to anything I said, and just said, well, he seems so much better now, we're taking away PS. And we heard a lot of those stories, especially, I would say especially a few months ago, several months ago, is when we heard a lot of these things going around of people just randomly, after several years of having it consistently, nothing's changed, all of a sudden PS is gone. All right, moving on. Marie said, follow-up, so, and this is about the institutional deeming waiver. So we would file the waiver only after she has been denied, not something we do as a preventative. Yes and no. I think you can tell regional center, if you're pretty sure you're going to be denied, you can let regional center know ahead of time that you're going to need the waiver, and they can maybe get it prepared for you, but they can't apply the waiver until you've received the denial from Medi-Cal. So you have to apply the normal way, receive the denial, show it to regional center, and they go, all right, here's your waiver. Now you're good to go.
Yep. Sorry, go ahead.
But yeah, like I was saying, if you're pretty sure you're going to be denied, you can just let regional center know ahead of time. They'll,
usually
go fast. Yeah.
Yeah. So in some cases. So to add to that, Dakota, Marie, it's not so much per regional center at this point. It's more per caseworker. So depending on your caseworker, the more helpful they may be. So some caseworkers are super involved where they'll even help you apply to Medi-Cal. They already being in the know that there's going to be a denial, so they'll have the waiver prepared. Some caseworkers aren't even sure how the waiver works. So you kind of have to be prepared for who you get. But most of the time, they're well versed on this. It's a big question that they get often. And so, like Dakota said, if you get ahead of it, they can get it started, but it's not going to be implemented until you get that denial. So you are correct in that assumption.
Okay, we received a little bit more clarification on CC's question before, that he is conserved. Does that change anything for you, Caleb, about regional center covering the full time of it? And I mean, I will say, as far as like, no,
it doesn't change for me personally, because that doesn't impact the rules for additional services that regional center provides, and in conjunction with IHSS rather than in lieu of IHSS. So whether he is conserved or not conserved, sorry, I'm going to back up a little bit. I do think that if there's a conservatorship, I think it's going to come down more so a little bit to spirit of the law versus the letter of the law, I think. So technically, when you conserve somebody and you are the conservator, what we typically like to say is it's kind of like you extending their childhood, right? It's kind of like you extending the guardianship, parental responsibilities, if you will. And the reason we say that is because you are contractually obligated at this point, like under oath, to my understanding. You go to court for this. So you are telling a judge, like, I'm prepared to be this person's protector, and all these different facets of their life that we're going to conserve them under, right? If it's a limited conservatorship, there's 7 powers that you can have them conserved under, right? And if you have all 7 of those powers, which is very common, my 2 sisters, my 3 siblings with Down syndrome, all 7 of their powers, my parents conserve them over. They are responsible and liable for for my siblings' safety and well-being, right? But it doesn't necessarily, there is an obligation for supervising them and keeping them safe, the same as it would be for a child, but it doesn't prevent them from getting services from regional center that they wouldn't already get if they weren't conserved. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So in spirit, there is a bit more of an obligation there. And in contract, there is under oath that you get stamped by the judge when you go to conservatorship court. But it still doesn't mean that they can't get less services from regional center. That is not how it works.
Yeah, so I would just add to that to say that, like he's saying, the rules for regional center are still, if the services he's currently being provided do not cover the need, if you're not being supported well enough to take care of him appropriately, then that's what you need to bring to them. But because he's concerned, the sort of the discussion we'd had before, some of the paths of maybe the thought process or the paths of argument we had been talking before about it's not right for regional center to force you to take care of him doesn't really work. Like that thought process doesn't really fly with them if he is conserved, because like he said, it's like Caleb mentioned, there's a legal obligation now for you to take care of him as if he was 5 years old and you're his parent. It's basically the same obligation legally. And so you can't really say that you are someone who is completely uninvolved, who's being forced to take care of him when you have no, legal obligation. That doesn't really work in this scenario. But like you said, if the services are not helping him meet the requirements of, the standard of living, then that's what you need to bring to them. All right. Janine also had a follow-up related to this. Right, nonetheless, TCRC is telling me that I am a natural resource, even though they have been informed I am not available, thus I will bring them to a hearing. Well, that's an issue as well. It's like if you're not able to do the work and they're saying, well, you got to do it anyway, then they're not supporting accurately. Hugo clarified California Children's Service was his comment earlier. Let me go back to that one. We can try and answer that one. So, can California Children's Service deny services if we show the regional center institutional waiver? Without the waiver, we won't qualify.
I'm still not sure what that is.
I only know the institutional deeming waiver for being used to get Medi-Cal.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know if the California Children's Service is a benefit of Medi-Cal, some other one similar to IHSS.
We know Teresa's typing away right now. Teresa, what have you found?
She is.
CCS is a state program for children with certain diseases or health problems. Through this program, children up to 21 years old can get health care and services they need. Qualify for the CCS program, and child must have a CCS eligible condition. Residing in California meet financial eligibility, and that is not limited to families earning $40,000 or less. Families with an adjusted gross income of $40,000 or less may qualify, but those with higher incomes will be eligible. The child's medical expenses are very high. Children enrolled in Medi-Cal may qualify for CCS. Medi-Cal therapy does not have an income limit and is available to all children who qualify.
Okay, I'll stop you there because I don't think they can all hear you. The short version, what it sounds like to me, is that it is a form of healthcare, and you can have Medi-Cal and get it. However, it does have an income limit that can be overcome, but it does have an income limit. Was that right? So it's probably
either you have to be $40,000 or less, or your child's medical expenses need to be very high.
So either you have to have an income of less than $40,000, or your child's medical expenses have to be abnormally high. So what I would say is that you having the institutional deeming waiver probably doesn't automatically disqualify you. But if you need the waiver because your income is very high, then there's a good chance that will also affect CCS. But I've never, it's possible that maybe this waiver could apply to other things other than Medi-Cal as well. I wouldn't count on that. But like I said, I don't think I think
it's something we'd have to research a little bit deeper.
I think the waiver would not necessarily disqualify you at the very least. And Teresa also posted our phone number for if you wanted to follow up with us about regional center, because I know we had a lot of questions about regional center. That's where you can go to.
And the union, who they got to call for the union. Call Dakota's line.
And
Ghostbusters.
Maksoy asked, I'm sorry I'm joining late. What specific type of waiver are we talking about? We were talking about the institutional deeming waiver from Regional Center, which is to help people get on Medi-Cal or help children get on Medi-Cal if their parents' income is too high to qualify them normally. And great audio today and video today. No hiccups. We're glad about that. I'm very glad.
We did it. We did it.
Hugo says we rock. I'm glad.
We need, you know what we need? Thanks, guys. We need like a, you know what they have at like warehouses and stuff where they're like, how many days we've gone without injury? We should have a whiteboard that's like how many days, how many weeks we've gone Facebook Live without like hiccups.
Yeah, it wouldn't be very many.
We could start it fresh today, 0.
We're getting close to the end on time, but we can get through these last couple of questions. CC followed up about conservatorship. I do understand, however, I'm getting older and want to fade the hands-on away without having him move out. He overpowers me. The other staff won't do it for free. This is why I need to try and get 24-hour care. Yeah, I mean, I'll just say it sounds like, you know, as he's getting older and you're getting older, you may want to start looking into more comprehensive, like, home care options. Maybe finding another IHSS provider, you know, who can help you out with that. I don't know if it's necessary to like transfer the conservatorship, but maybe adding a power of attorney for someone else who can continue on the care going forward in the future, something like that.
Just to add there, you can still be his conservator even if he is living in like a group home setting, being cared for completely by other people.
She did say before that she wanted to be able to still oversee the work that was being done.
Yeah, I'm just saying hypothetically, so she wouldn't have to worry about that.
But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things to consider there, but
She might, to get creative, she might want to register at the group home, bring in another person, and then get the state funding for a group.
That's not a bad idea. I mean, it's obviously a big idea, but it's a great idea too.
That's a Myra Galt solution.
That would be a Myra solution for sure.
It is, and you know what? It's also
I
great.
mean, it's a complicated situation. I don't mean. Oh, you go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to reiterate and say that technically, if we want to talk about who's doing what for who, right, referring to the union and all these conversations we've had today, there is a need for group homes. There is a really big need for, what is the term Regional Center uses? Adult residential facilities, AFRs. So adult residential facilities are those group home type environments that are where you can have multiple individuals in the home, where there is like a full-on staff in a way, right? And there's just not a lot of them because it's just not too many people are willing to start one. But if that is something of interest, where maybe that individual could be cared for by a round-the-clock staff because you are now considered a facility that you could turn a home into, it is something to consider. So it's I think it was a great little note from Teresa.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we got a few more questions at the end here. People are all getting them in the last minute.
Let's do it. Speed round.
All right, speed round. Anna said, how many respite hours are available to us through CVRC? I currently have 20.
All of them.
The short answer is as many as you need, but it's a lot more complicated than that to actually get them. A different Anna said, is it possible to get hours approved for seizure care with IHSS/WPCS for severe autistic nonverbal child?
Kind of.
Yes, but seizures itself, if you're going for a protective supervision, very difficult. WPCS, I don't really know as well. But I mean, the severe autistic nonverbal part will already get you a lot of hours with IHSS.
If the seizure disorder is presenting paramedical or needs that are paramedical in nature, then yes, it would be covered under the paramedical task category. But there's no category for seizure disorder for
already
like
have PS. Well, that's good. Yeah. So as far as the seizures go, when it comes to other hours, paramedical stuff, and like that, it can, like, even for paramedical, it can be difficult to get because if it's not a consistent how often it happens, right? Like you can get the doctors to write sort of on average, approximate how often the seizures occur, but I have seen times where it's difficult to get the paramedical hours because you just don't know, when it's going to happen, how often. And then last thing, Penny said, we can't hear her in the background. Well, we'll get her a microphone next time, and then everyone will hear her great comments that she makes.
Love it.
All right, I think we got to all of the questions. Hopefully we did. If we should get out of here, but if you have more that you wanted to ask and more that you wanted to, get, either join us for the Spanish Facebook Live that's going to start in just a few minutes here, or just send us a message on Facebook, and we try to answer as many questions as we get in the comment section and everything. Well, other than that, Caleb, it was great to see you again. Great to be here with you. Absolutely.
So glad I got to jump in with you today, Dakota. And thank you everybody for being here. Amazing questions. Stumped
Really
us on
great.
a few of them, which is great. I'm excited to learn a little bit more about the union. And if you have the union knocking on your door, let us know. We want to hear about it.
Yeah. We might want to have some more talks about that in the future, and about what to expect and what we can maybe warn people about, but also let them know that is out there. So yeah, it's good stuff. So I won't be here next Friday, but we will definitely be doing something next Friday. We'll figure it out.
We'll take care of it.
So see y'all later. Have a good weekend. Have a good Friday, and stay out of the smoke. All right.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.